Okay, good afternoon and welcome to class today. Today we are here to discuss cause and effect, and the reason we're going to talk about it is because we eventually want you to be able to read through a certain chapter of your King Arthur book and talk about the cause and effect in there. But before we get started, who can tell me what cause and effect is or what they think it might be? Is there anyone that knows? Alex.
Thank you. The cause and effect would be the cause would be the thing that would happen, and then the effect would be the thing that happens because of that cause.
That's right. That's right. That's pretty much right on. It's a two event sequence. The cause is the thing that happens first, or the thing that happens, as you said, and the effect is what happens because of the cause, which is second. What I want to talk about first and try to have some fun with this is some different cause and effect things that we can think about in our life. We want to talk about some positive ones. You also can talk about some negative ones. What are some cause and effects that you can think about from your own life, Alex?
Um, uh, Probably.
Let me give you one first.
Okay.
I think that'll help. One common one for students is that if they're not studying for a test, then they get a bad grade.
That sounds good.
So we've got the cause here, not studying for a test, and the effect is getting a bad grade. Can you think of something that's maybe positive cause and effect in school or at home?
If you take medicine, then you'll get better.
That's a really good one. That's a really good one. If you take medicine, then you get better. Let's see if anyone else in the class has anything to add before we get back to you, Alex. Maybe I'll think of another one. One that I think about, okay, so we kind of talked about some more, kind of not real fun, but just more serious ones. What's something fun that we can think about? So what's something you can do that the cause of it and then the effect would be really good?
Um, I would think if you learn how to fly an airplane, you could fly an airplane. I'd really like to fly an airplane.
You want to fly an airplane? Okay.
Yeah. So if you go to school for flying,
Learn to fly, you can become a pilot.
yeah, that's good.
Okay, so we've written a few up there, and I want you to be able to refer to those a little bit later in the lesson, or even when you do your homework during your independent time today. What are some other ones that you can think of? I'll give you one that I can think of, and this one might apply. Right now, of course, we're only in middle school. This is more like a high school one, but if you participate in mock interviews and job fairs, then you might be able to get a job. Can you tell me what you think a mock interview is? Have you ever heard of one?
I think so. Yeah. Yeah, it's just a fake interview
Fake interview,
for like
right?
a job. So.
Job. Yeah, people normally don't do those until high school or even college for some people. But it's good to talk about in middle school. Not the main point of our lesson, but if people do mock interviews, they might be able to get the job. Um, Another one that I can think of, this does happen to middle school students as well as high school students. What normally happens if you don't get in by curfew?
Oh, you get grounded.
Get grounded,
Yeah.
right? So if you don't get in by curfew, you normally get grounded. Now, has that ever happened to any of your friends? We won't talk about you, but
I'm sure it has. Yes.
yes, no, nobody ever gets home past the time they're supposed to, right?
No, I'm perfect.
So what are some other causes and effects that you can think of maybe that we haven't talked about yet? Maybe one more example before we kind of move on.
I would think probably the opposite of what you were talking about. If you study for a test, you might get a good grade.
That's true. That's
So,
true. How much do you think you normally have to study for a test?
well, if it's at the end of the week, probably at least 2 or 3 hours.
2 or 3 hours, right?
At least.
And so do you kind of get the idea of cause and effect? I mean, it sounds like you knew a little bit about it before.
Yeah, I think it looks. I think it sounds better when you actually put it up on the board and you actually like word for word learn it.
Do you think that it'll be easy to kind of take this information, because what we want to do here is what we're talking about real life, but eventually on your own, we want you to take your King Arthur book that you're going to read and actually do some cause and effect in there. And it is a little bit more difficult reading. So ideally, I'd like for you to come up with 3 causes and 3 effects when you do your homework tonight, but some people may not be able to come up with 3. So I just want you to know that it is a little bit harder. So what questions do you have, like when you're reading through the text, or how can I help you get prepared to look for cause and effect in King Arthur?
Probably we'll just have to read it slowly and go through it.
Read it slowly?
Yeah, because then we can actually, I'll have to listen, to the cause and the effect.
Mm-hmm. And I think what we're going to do is, what I do is I have a handout that I can give you, and the handout that I have is similar to this, but it's one that you can take home and finish. And kind of what I want us to do today is go through the lesson, start the reading, and maybe find at least one of them together, possibly even 2, but really the second or third one I want you to be able to find on your own, or the third for sure. We're going to do the first one together because, cause and effect in general is not that difficult of a topic like when we're talking about everyday life, but it is a little bit harder in King Arthur. So are you ready to kind of maybe look at the worksheet and go through the King Arthur side of it a little bit?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well here's the worksheet. If you want to go ahead and put your name and today's date, I'll get a pencil for you. Go ahead and put your name and today's date on it. And what we'll do is we'll start reading just the first little bit of the book. We're on chapter 2, and you can follow along in your book or you can just listen. It's up to you. On the day before the Feast of Pentecost, 1 year after Merlin had made the Round Table, King Arthur with some of his knights rode out early from Camelot to hunt in the forest. Before they had ridden far, they met with a knight, groaned like one in great pain, and as he turned upon the litter, all might see the broken blade of a sword standing out from a grim wound in its head. Now tell me, said King Arthur, wherefore you rest thus in the litter, and do you seek for a leech or a priest? Sir, groaned the knight, I seek for neither, but I would come to the court of King Arthur, for only there may I be cured of my grievous hurt. For there I shall find the best knights of all lorgies, and he shall be known by his first deed of knighthood, which shall be the healing of my wound.
I think I heard one.
You did you? Okay.
I think I heard one. From what it sounded like, the knight got hurt on his head, so that would be something that would happen as a cause.
Mm-hmm.
And then the effect, I don't know the effect yet, but we'll probably find out.
Yeah, so he got hurt. What do you think is going to happen? That's actually another good thing to talk about cause and effect is we might, when you're reading, to do reading comprehension, we kind of want to predict sometimes what happened. What do you think might happen to him now that he's been injured?
He said he didn't need for them to find a leech, so they'll probably find like some kind of gauze or something to help him get better or something like that.
In what time frame was this going on in King Arthur? Do you remember from reading before?
Sometime around like the 1300s.
Yeah, so it wasn't any time recent. So
Yeah.
do you think they have like ibuprofen and regular pain medicines and things to take?
No.
In 1300. Yeah, so it's interesting that he's decided not to really seek anybody helping him, like a leech, which is what they did that time. There's no aspirin to pop or ibuprofen. So we'll kind of find out what happened to it. Then Arthur bade all his knights try, each in turn, to heal the wound, but none of them might do it, not even Gawain, the best knight among them. Tomorrow is the Feast of Pentecost, said King Arthur, and on that day all my knights on the Round Table shall be met together upon their oath. Then the wounded knight was carried into the great hall at Camelot, well tended there all that day, while Arthur rode out into the forest. And on the morrow all the knights were met together at the feast, each in his place at the Round Table. But some places stood empty, for there were knights who had fallen in battle since the year before. When those who came had told each of his deeds during the year, and the high order of the knighthood, they laid hands in turn upon the wounded man in the litter, but none might heal him. Now, said King Arthur, this is a great wonder, and I know not if greater still there is to be ere we eat our meal this day. Hardly had he spoken these words when there came a trumpet call from without, and into the hall rode Nimue, the lady of the lake of Avalon, she who had laid Merlin to his long rest. And behind her came 3 young men, squires, and right away very goodly to behold. But the first of them was so fine a man, golden haired, broad of shoulder, open of face, that all were silent to see the goodliness of him. And Queen Guinevere sighed, and all the color fled from the face for every wonder. So what happened to him? So we know the cause, and so since he did not actually get healed in the traditional way that we would think of today, but who was helping take care of him?
All the men.
All the men, and what are those men sometimes called?
Squires.
Squires. Yeah. So the cause that he was injured to the head, and the effect in this case is just that he was assisted by the squires. At this point yet, he hasn't got the typical medical care that we would think of today, but the squires, which are people that work for the king, right? And they work for the king and therefore take care of him. But that's kind of where we're going to end off today. And so for your homework, you're going to have the second and third to look for on your own. If you can't find 2 more on your own, that's okay. We're going to take some time and review it tomorrow, go back over cause and effect, talk about the second and third one for this lesson. And really that's the end of our lesson today before you get to transition into your independent time. Do you have any questions, though, before your independent time?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And go ahead and start your independent time.